This section will cover the self-disassembly process of the CK2750G Kobelco crane. For an easier disassembly process, place the machine on firm, level ground. Place the block and ball on the ground and lower the boom. When you get to the low boom angle, the machine will automatically stop. Press the icon showing the boom with the arrow pointing down. Then lower the boom to the ground. It will be necessary to change the LMI setting into the setup mode. This is done by pushing the icon on the LMI showing the boom being taken apart and hold it for 3 seconds. Remove the cable and wedge sockets from the block and ball. Remove the anti-2 block weights from the cables and limit switches. Wind up the anti-2 block cable on the reel at the boom base section. Unreeve the hoist cable from the load block. Then, slowly wind hoist cable while keeping the wire rope tight on the front drum. Secure the hoist cables to the drum so the cable does not become loose. Next, reeve up the rear drum, again while keeping the wire rope tight on the drum, and secure the hoist cable to the drum so the cable does not become loose. Now lower the boom to the ground. Next, we'll remove the auxiliary sheave from the boom tip. Lower the boom to the ground and remove the bottom connecting pins. Then lower the auxiliary sheave by backing the machine while lowering the boom. Remove the top connecting pins. Back the machine away from the auxiliary sheave. Now lower the boom to the ground. Fully raise the mast assist arms and keep them up during the disassembly process. Lower the mast as needed to disconnect the guy cables. Now install the provided rigging and connect it from the mast to the lifting lugs on the boom base. Follow the rigging illustration found in the operation and maintenance manual. Lift up on the boom base to remove the tension from the lower boom connecting pins. Both ends of these pins are tapered, so the pins can be removed while standing safely outside of the boom. It's important that you stand clear when removing any boom connecting pins, because it's possible for the boom to suddenly shift as they're being removed. Lower the boom hoist and set the boom onto wooden blocking. Add the additional rigging to the mast as illustrated in the operation and maintenance manual, and connect to the rear lifting lugs on the boom base. Boom up to remove the tension from the boom foot pins. Disconnect boom cables 1 and 2 from the base machine. Remove the locking pins. Retract the hydraulic boom foot control to remove both boom foot pins. Slowly back away from the boom while lowering the mast. It'll be necessary to program the LMI into the self-removal mode. To do this, first press the menu icon. On the menu screen, select the setting with the up-down arrow icon. The crane attachment screen appears. Next, press the 1, 2, 3 icon located on the bottom of the screen. Select the self-removal mode icon. The operation selection screen is displayed. Next, choose with car body weights. As the mast is lowered, it will stop at about 32 degrees. Then push the boom down button and hold it for 3 seconds. Now remove the boom rigging from the mast. Lower the mast to install the block. When the mast angle reaches the maximum degree allowed, we'll need to place the LMI into the setup mode. This is done by pressing the button on the LMI showing the boom apart and holding it for 3 seconds. Then continue to lower the mast as needed to reeve the block. Use the rear drum to reeve the self-assembly block to the 2 center mast sheaves. The block should be reeved with 3 parts of line. Feed the load cable through the anti-2 block weight. Install the anti-2 block weight and limit switch to the mast tip. Connect the anti-2 block cable ends. Secure the wire rope wedge into the wedge socket assembly and pin the wedge socket to the block location. Remove the anti-2 block cable from this compartment and connect it to the receptacle on the side of the cab marked anti-2 block. Pull the anti-2 block limit switch by hand and check that the hook over hoist code on the LMI is eliminated. The block on the mast is now ready to be used to disassemble the crane. When the mast angle reaches its working radius, about 32 degrees, the LMI will have returned to self-removal mode and all codes should be eliminated. We'll now demonstrate using the crane for self-disassembly. At this point, we'll need to remove the rear main counterweights. Set the mast angle at about a 45-degree angle. Back the machine over plywood-type material on firm level ground. First, turn off the engine in the cab and connect the control box to the receptacle on the right side of the crane. Using the control box, start the engine and raise the engine to about 1000 RPM and remove the gantry tension member locking pins. Lower both of the gantry cylinders as needed to connect the lifting cables. Connect the cables and raise the cylinders to remove the load on the pins. Remove the main mounting pin spring clips and slide the main mounting pins out to the release position. Now move both the left and right gantry cylinder control switches to the down position. The cylinders work independently, so the operator can keep the counterweight assembly level while lowering. Stand clear of the counterweight assembly during this lowering procedure. Lower the counterweight assembly down and set it on a firm supporting surface. Disconnect the counterweight lifting cables from the lifting brackets. Move both gantry cylinder control switches to the extend position to fully raise the gantry and install both gantry tension member locking pins. Using the control box, turn off the engine. Disconnect the counterweight control box. Now slowly drive the machine forward away from the counterweight assembly. At this point, the crane may be used as needed to lower the boom backstops, disassemble the boom and counterweights to make them ready for shipment. At this point, use the mast to remove the car body counterweights. Remove the mounting pins and lift the counterweight assembly from the mounting bracket. Each car body weight assembly is 30,200 pounds. Use suitable rigging for this lift. The working radius is 24 feet from the center rotation. Remove the connecting links and separate the two weights. Lower the counterweight brackets down to the transport position. We are now ready to remove the track frames. This process must be done on very firm ground or on top of steel plates. Remove steps from the track frames. Turn off the engine and disconnect the hydraulic lines from the base machine to the track frames. Connect the control box to the receptacle on the rear center car body of the machine. We will now move the translifter swing arms into the working position. First, remove the swing arm locking pins on each of the translifters. Swing the translifter arms out to the working position and replace the locking pins. Make sure all 4 locking pins are fully inserted and spring pins are installed on the bottom side of the lock pins. Install the floats on the bottom of each translifter and secure with locking pins. Now remove the hoses that are stored in the front and rear of the car body frame compartments. These are the hydraulic hoses that control the main track pin cylinder. There are one set of hoses for the front mounting cylinder and another for the rear. Connect these hoses to the quick disconnect fittings on the track frame. Start the engine and set the speed to approximately 1000 RPM. Reprogram the load safety device in self-removal mode without car body weight. Turn the power switch on the control box to the on position. The 4 outside switches on the control box control the 4 individual translifter jacks. We're now ready to lower the translifter jacks and raise the machine enough for the track frames to clear the ground. Make sure that the 4 floats stay firmly on the ground during the lifting procedure. Make adjustments as needed to keep the machine level from side to side. A level is mounted on the car body of the machine as an aid to keep the machine level. Continue this process until both track frames are completely clear of the ground. We're now able to remove the track frame assemblies from the base machine. The total weight of each track frame is 51,800 pounds. Use a 4-leg sling shackled to the 4 lifting eyes on the track frames. Install the softeners to protect the slings and track pads. Now slowly lift the track frame until the small gap between the track frame and the main frame on the base machine closes. Now remove the smaller top mounting pins by hand. Then move the selector switch for the main track frame mounting pins to the retract position. These are the 2 inside switches on the control box. Now remove the main pin hydraulic hoses from the track frame. It may be necessary to relieve the pressure from the hydraulic lines. Do this by quickly pushing the control switch in the extend position. Please remember that a 360-degree swing is not allowed with the opposite track installed. Do not swing the center point of the track frame past either of the translifters on the side on which the track frame is being removed. Please refer to the operation and maintenance manual for detailed instructions. Once the pins are fully retracted, the track frame will be free from the base machine. The working radius with the track frame is 17 feet. Place the track frame on the ground or on the bed of the transport truck. Now swing the upper structure around and remove the other track in the same manner. A 360-degree swing is allowed with the opposite track removed. After the second track frame is removed, lower the machine to the ground and level as needed with translifters. We can now remove the load block from the mast. Lower the mast and then set the LMI back into setup mode as before. Disconnect the wedge socket and spool up the wire rope. Secure the cable so it doesn't become loose on the drum. Remove the anti-2 block limit switch and connect the bypass plug to the end of the cable. We'll now fold the mast back to the transport position. Turn off the engine and plug in the control box to the receptacle on the right side of the upper machine. Using the control box, start the engine. Make sure the mast assist arms are fully raised. Remove the anti-2 block cable for the mast and place in this compartment. Raise the mast until it reaches about 78 degrees. At this point, the LMI will stop the boom up function. Push the setup button on the LMI and hold it for 3 seconds. Now lower the mast assist arms while booming up and set the mast onto the gantry. Keep some slack in the boom hoist wire rope as the gantry is being lowered. Continue to lower the mast assist arms to the storage position. Now remove the gantry tension member locking pins and place them in the holders. Lower the right and left side gantry control switches at the same time and lower the gantry. Boom up as the gantry is lowering, but do not allow the wire rope to become tight. Turn ignition switch off and remove the control box. You will now lower the top handrails, remove side rails, fold the catwalks into the transportation position, and remove the ladder. The base machine is now ready to load on the transport truck. The translifters will raise the machine up 42 inches, so the trailer is able to back under for transport. Lower the machine onto the trailer with translifters. After the load is removed from the floats, remove the locking pins and slide the float away from the cylinder. Then fully raise the cylinders. Turn off the engine and disconnect the control box cables and store the control box in the compartment behind the seat. Swing all 4 of the translifter arms into the transport position and secure in place with the locking pins. Engage the swing house lock and all mechanical drum locks. The machine is now ready for transport. In this configuration, the total weight of the machine is 99,800 pounds.